Hello everyone, I'm Jason. Today I want to share with you a Konfi workflow. It is suitable for the migration of all things, and of course it can also be used as a dress-up, because the logical idea is the same. Then I figured out this workflow myself, because it is modified based on a basic stream of context. Of course, some places may not be very perfect. Now there are many models and workflows for changing clothes or moving everything. Then, I mainly share with you a way of thinking. Before talking about this workflow, I recommend a platform to you. It's this Running Hub platform. Nowadays, the model or workflow has higher and higher requirements for locality. For example, for my workflow, it may require 16 up, because there are more models involved here. What about this Running Hub platform? It provides a 48GB 4090 graphics card. Running some workflows is completely overused. Now through the comment section. There is also 1000 points for alert registration. You can get 100 o'clock when you log in every day. There is also a quick creation here. Can be used. Wait for a moment and you will find it here. Then we have to upload pictures here and wait for the operation. You can quickly experience the latest image generation technology. Of course, my homepage here will update my workflow from time to time. You can come here and give it a try. Then let's get back to the point and take a look at this workflow together. First of all, this workflow is based on this context model. Then I chose the Nunchaku version here. It can also save our video memory at a higher level. Then, I also used Putty Aurora and Brain Suicide to open Source Light and Shadow. Fusion of Aurora, you can see here. However, when the stream first came out and the basic stream first came out, most of the streams needed to manually adjust the position. For example, through the Canvas node of LG Brain, we can adjust our products and background. We need to adjust it manually. Of course, there are others like this publishing node. However, if we want to perform a single processing, of course this operation is relatively convenient. But if we want batches, it is not very friendly. So I want to say, is there any node that can automatically locate the position? That's a pity. It seems that it's currently there. It seems that there isn't. What if you want to achieve such an automatic positioning operation? First of all, we should think of it. If we want to place it, it involves a position. If the position is involved, it has something to do with the coordinates. So, I thought of a mask frame detection node. Let's take a look together. It is this mask box that detects this node, which can output one of our coordinates. For example, there is zone 100 score, Yone 100 score, width and height, and a coordinate of this XY node. Then it can realize the output of our coordinates based on a border of one of our masks. If you have coordinate output, we will be able to do it. We can position it according to this coordinate. Then there are two problems now. One is how we automatically place positions according to coordinates. The other one is our product picture, or our goal picture. It is not quite the same as the size of the item in the background where we want to place, or the replacement position. We can see here. Generally speaking, our product pictures are relatively high definition. Ours is relatively large. That would be the size of our background. For example, the size of the object we want to replace at that time. Generally speaking, it is not very consistent. If we simply position it through coordinates, this may happen. For example, after being placed in, it will not correspond to the size. At first, what I thought about was how to solve the first problem. That is how we automatically place it according to the coordinates. I originally used this image to mix this node. That node is because it just has the x-axis percentage and y-axis percentage. And our output node for the shading frame detection. it can be just right. It's obvious that we can see, if the image is placed through this node, it will have the second problem we mentioned. It just can't adjust the size reasonably. There is still no way to achieve automatic positioning or automatic adjustment. So how to solve this problem? I went online to search. I've been looking for it for quite a long time, because finding this node later is unpopular. So what? I searched for a while. What about this node? It is this preset that transforms this node. You can see. It has background image and foreground image. A good overlay of a double graph can be performed through these two nodes. Or we want to place it. This requirement for placing product pictures to the background. And it can also pass the following 8 values. That is to say, 4 vertices. And 4 coordinates to implement one of our methods of adjusting the size. Good. Then it's equivalent to saying that. That means we have already solved it initially. That is, a method of placement and size adjustment of product diagrams. Now that we have this method, we just need to solve it one by one. That's the first thing. How do you get the output of these 4 vertices and 8 values? We can't say that we can enter one by one at a time. That's not as complicated as our canvas. One purpose cannot be achieved in batches. Then this is how I solved it. First of all, we are based on the shading frame detection we just mentioned. According to this frame detection, what about the X and Y outputs? Generally refers to the upper left vertex of our blocking frame. That is to say, we can look at such an output diagram. It covers frame detection, the detected box. The output X and Y generally refers to the position of the upper left vertex. Then after we have this position, we can follow. It can be derived based on the coordinates of our vertex. Or through simple numerical operations. We can get this upper right or lower left. Or the coordinates of the other 3 vertices in the lower right corner. Then we only need. Then there will be a problem now. That is to say, how do we calculate it? Then I'm using this node. Numerical calculation of this node. You can see that it provides us with some simple numerical operations. Then we just need to use this numerical operation. Can you detect this XY through its guidance box? Calculate the XY of the other 3 vertices. That is to say, our 8 numbers. All can be obtained through this number operation. Then we need to pay attention to one more point. It is the XY detected by our guidance box. It cannot be directly connected to this location of our number operation. It also requires us to add a node. That is, the integer to the number node I provide. Make a conversion. Then it can be converted to this number calculation node. Only then can one connect. Here is. This is a question to be paid attention to. That's all. We have solved all location-related problems. After the solution is done. So what are we going to solve next? Solve it is a problem of cutting pictures. Because we want to put this product picture in our background position. There is also a need to provide a cutout method that folds this megaframe. Then we can see here. I'm using one. What about this product picture? I'm using a node that removes the background. Because for general. For our products, our background is relatively simple. Some may even be a product image on pure white background. Then we can use this simple way to remove the background. Let's deduct our main product picture. Of course, if this method is used here, we will have a problem. This is the white background image we produced. Or pure background pictures. When we post it in this background image, its white part, or solid color part, it will also produce a redraw for our background. then it will lead to saying, we generated the diagram. The background and our original image may make a big difference. Because you see, for example, this one. It has so many white areas. It will all be redrawn. So how to solve this problem? I'm using this node that we just mentioned about this image mixing. Then I pass a solid color image, or a solid color image generated by the mask. Combine with the product picture we have cut out and it will get a white edge product picture. Then, by cropping this transparent image, you can get a white edge product picture with a transparent bottom. In this way, when we splice it, we will have a better effect. It will not do much emphasis on our background. That is equivalent to saying that we will finish cutting the product picture. Then the next step is to cut out the picture for our background. That's because this background is generally rich. We want to cut a single or a certain object into a cutout. This semantic segmentation model may be needed. Of course, this model is earlier. It can be processed through our prompt words. For example, we can enter this doll here. You can enter a doll or a mutton here. So it does a cutout. Then it can produce a better effect. You can see the renderings here. Then we connected on the link we just said that this folding frame detection. It can detect location information of each part of our department. Then we say that the product and background images have been processed now. Then, use the preset transformation of this node as we just mentioned to perform a superposition. You can see that it produces a particularly good effect. Then we will actually find a problem when running. If we say we don't do another treatment, a problem will arise. It's what we splice together, and you will find that this white edge cannot completely block the things we originally wanted to replace. It is very likely that the image will be generated like this. The ARI cannot recognize that you want to replace this thing. So what should I do? I thought there was a way to use this stream that was removed through a context. A simple stream to implement it. That is to say, remove our target object first. Then this is equivalent to forming a blank space for us. When you put the stuff in, it will be much clearer. So this stream is relatively simple. I mainly added such an operation. That is to say, we pass through a mask of wings. Then do another smear. Apply information from an object we want to remove. Then this is convenient. ARI better understands what we want to remove, without us talking about opening it. For example, as we used to say, turning on the mask ice cream. Then apply manually. This also forms a relatively automatic flow. After removing this background, then let's do another splicing. You can find that there is no extra part to be made. Then, if we click to generate it, you can see it and there will be no extra things. It forms a very good fusion. That's because I use the big guy's light and shadow fusion of this roller. Just here is the roller. It will refer to the light from our original background image very well. You can find that this puppy turns out to be the light source on the left. After it merges into this picture, it becomes the light source on the right. It is still a relatively good fusion. Of course, sometimes the effect may not be very good. You may need to draw a few more cards. It can still be achieved. Then this has already been almost done when it comes to this point. But here I actually made a small improvement. What improvement? Sometimes, for example, you can find that our mask frame may not have a good identification of the edges. It may make our size recognize. It may be smaller or larger. Then we need to fine-tune it this time. So I mean at our 4 vertices. That is to say, we preset the transformation of these 4 vertices after we add or subtract the multiplier. I also made an extension. That is to say, the coordinates expand upward or outward. It is equivalent to our x and y. Add some small values. In this way, it can achieve a good border extension effect. This is an improvement. There is another improvement, that is, sometimes it may not be like a display image on my side. That is to say, it is square. Or stand here. It may be shoes. For example, we have some sticks, or some other clothes. It may be oblique. It may be placed obliquely here. So what should I do at this time? So when I was processing the product diagram, I'll add another image mixing node. In this case, we can do a good job of rotating. It is when the first step is mixed. Let's rotate first. Then in the second step of mixing, let's take our picture again. Mix again. Form a white edge diagram. So here you can make a rotation and adjustment. Then there is another problem, that is, sometimes we may be in the image. There is another improvement, which means that sometimes there may be more in our images. There are many goals in the background. For example, I have several dolls here. At this time, our cover frame may not be able to position the doll we want well. At this time, I added one. Sound detection splits this node. In this way, it can be passed through this index. We can well locate the number of masks we want. For example, there are 1,234 dolls here. When I type 0 or 1, it can position the first occlusion frame very well. Probably this is an effect. And then there is an XY offset here. Because sometimes ours, for example, I add an XY offset here. Because sometimes our shading frame, probably not that good, can be precisely positioned. For example, it may be slightly to the right, or it's above. We can adjust it through this XY. This is the rough reason for the work. Welcome, thank you for watching. Everyone is also welcome to discuss with me in the comment section. Okay, thank you.